Morning or good afternoon or good evening, whatever the time is where you are. My name is Kirsty Dignam, and as always, I'm here to do a reading into the energies of this week. Now, with all readings, it is collective, but if something does initiate a response within you, please take that on board. If not, let it go. As always, you are your own best guide. I cannot stress that enough. So I'm acutely aware, like I can really feel it almost as if my whole body has raw nerve endings. But I'm acutely aware that this camera is showing to my left, my kitchen, the heart space of the home, and the door is wide open, and that feels really poignant this week in particular. And to my right, a dream catcher. If we wish to achieve what it is we long to manifest in our life, you know, there are many levels of manifestation. There are things not as simple but as straightforward as asking for a parking space and finding one. There are long-term projects, and there are soul manifestations. Over the last few weeks, I've really come to realize that this is what I actually help people with. You know, for a long time, I've called myself a soul midwife, having been a midwife for over a decade, and then taking everything I've learned and applying that to healing and reading and guidance and basically everything that I do, which is to empower people to reach their potential. But that takes several things. That takes an open heart, an open view of what it is we are trying to cook up, what it is we are trying to actually manifest, and a realistic vision towards our dreams and any doors that may be closed in reaching them. For that, it is pertinent that we don't take things personally. And I speak from experience because self-awareness is and always will be key. But like the medicine wheel, you know, we can step into the unknown of the north. We can look at everything that has been brought to light in the east. We can do the healing and we can do the work, but we need to complete the circle, which means to move around into the space of the West, into the physical death of what was. And for some of us, that can actually be returning back to what we always knew, but on a deeper level. It's a continual spiral of this life, a continual journey. And quite often, including with the cards, we have reflected back to us what it is deep down inside we truly know already, but have sometimes lost sight of. So this week in particular, it feels very important to connect to your dreams with an open heart from the eyes of unconditional love, rather than not just a human level, but as well as a human level. Just take a moment in that. It does feel raw. It does feel vulnerable. You know, the last few weeks, myself in particular, I do feel as if I've had many layers stripped back and found myself right at the root of how this all began, and my desire and need to look at things from all angles. But also the completion that through the eyes of the Great Mother, Pachamama, unconditional love, it is all part of the one. And it doesn't mean that certain beliefs or morals were wrong. If anything, walking our journey, we can end up solidifying those foundations. So that feels really relevant this week, to know that you have done the work. And to let go of the continual lessons, not by ignoring them, not by not connecting to them, but by re-establishing the teachings behind them. Okay? What started you on this course? What are your dreams? What is it you are trying to manifest, and why? Really, really going back to your core beliefs around it, standing in who you are and being open and appreciating that vulnerability for the great teacher that it is. So with that in mind, I am got 2 cups to one side. No, I've got 2 cards to one side, and one of them is the 2 of Cups and the other one is the Devil. How they managed to get out the pack. Yeah. So when we walk the medicine wheel, initially when we experience life, we see things outside of us. We see them as separate. From the moment we are born, we are no longer inside our mother. We are separate from our mother. And that journey continues so that we can actually see what is being reflected to us, learn from it, and re-heal that connection, knowing that it was always part of us. So this week in particular, it really feels relevant to bring home the lessons, allow them to come back into the heart. The heart space feels open and raw once we have released what is no longer needed. But then it is being mindful what we are actually putting back into our systems. Are we putting back in the old beliefs, just in a different way, or a different form, or a different shape? Or are we allowing something new to truly come in? You cannot cook something different with the same ingredients. So with that in mind, I am just going to get straight to the point. Straight to the point. We're going to keep the energy clear. I'm looking at the roses on my table and I'm going to show you. Oh, I have one glass rose, and I bought this rose from my mother years ago when I was 15. When we were going through quite a difficult patch, actually, as mother and daughter, which I'm sure many can appreciate. And it came about by stepping into my own maturity and not knowing my place within the matriarchy, basically. This almost like the grey area between being a child of the earth, but also a guardian of the earth, being a child of my mother, but also a woman in my own rights. The key, keep it simple, keep it clear, keep it transparent. Allow it to unfold naturally and beautifully. So I'm going to place that rose actually to one side. And what I've got here is a aromatherapy blend that my mother got me years ago, and it's for clarity. And that feels really poignant this week if we want clarity, to not confuse the situation. So with that in mind, yes, there are 1,000,001 energies we could tap into today, but actually let's connect into the focused teachings behind the collective vibrations this week. Flush it out. That's what I hear. Flush it out. Flush out anything that isn't flowing. I wanted to say serving our highest good, and then I wanted to say isn't what we need, and blah, 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 blah. Actually, let's go beyond this. Is it flowing? Does it feel good? If not, flush it out this week. There's quite a bit of ruthlessness in that energy. No, that's my human interpretation. It's compassion. So for argument's sake, when I was a midwife years ago, people would come in very early stages of labour, having never given birth myself at that point. You know, I would see these individuals through the eyes of empathy, which is a beautiful thing. But in that empathy, I could only imagine what it was like having never walked that path. And as a consequence, I would keep people in the hospital. I would, get them to rest and take care of them. And that's all beautiful. But the truth of the matter was they were better off at home, in their own family, in their own environment. Statistics have shown that they actually deliver better when they feel safe in familiar surroundings. If these women stayed in the hospital, the chances of being interfered with ultimately would increase, because the natural process of early labour, which is where it feels like we are this week, the natural process of early labour can take a bit longer, and it can be a very grey area. There is no set structure. And if we try and apply a set structure to something that is slowly starting to blossom and open, we can almost force that either A, to happen too quickly, or from our own need for control, we can intervene. And by intervene, that can include breaking waters, putting drips up, giving pain relief that stops the individual from being able to mobilise. These are all things that actually help early labour. So since having my son, as a midwife, it wasn't that I cared less. If anything, I cared on a different level, because I could see the bigger picture from a compassionate level, that whoever was in front of me was more than capable of delivering their own creativity, and B, it was early stages. I could recognize that, and I could recognize then the best place for that individual to be, rather than trying to step in and make it better, or what I believed was to make it better. I could actually empower them to make it better for themselves, to take back that control. So the energy this week in particular does feel very early labor. It does feel very unsure, excitable but unsure. And what I would clearly really suggest is to be open, to be in surroundings that feel safe and comfortable, and to take care, as always, of the physical needs. Lots of healthy eating, nature, really tending to the body to allow it to do what it needs to do, what it knows how to do. So the Scorpio full moon, I think, is either today or tomorrow. And there is a lot to be released, as always, because there's a lot coming in. We can really jump on the bandwagon and think, I need to get rid of this, I need to get rid of that, and start to actually intervene and interfere with our own natural flow. So just recognizing that these processes happen, they always happen, and that we do know how to do it, and just finding an environment that is safe to do that. Didn't think that was going to go that way. Anyway. Okay, now I can see why it's going to go that way. In the next few weeks, I'm going to take time to recalibrate myself, but after that, I am going to come back to offering readings and things like that in the group. And much has changed. You know, when we can have fears in life, mine being losing my mother, my biggest fear was to lose my mother. When that actually happens, we can almost inspire ourselves by realizing just how much we can hold space for, you know, realizing just how much stronger than our fears we actually are. And that has really changed my energy. Just like all of us collectively, the shifts that have occurred have changed our energy. And what I really feel is in the next few weeks to give ourselves opportunity to step into the frequencies that are coming in, and to allow those that are no longer relevant to just pass peacefully. So with that in mind, I am going to do a reading, but it kind of feels like it's not needed, but we will see. Energies for this week collectively. It is needed, actually. I'm looking up at the poster in front of me, and there's a leaflet that says, it's from Dave Gilmour, his concert, and there's a leaflet and it's got his name written on it, but all I can see is the word more, and right above that the song that he sang, Rattle That Lock. There are more locks to be released, there are more chains to be recognized. So with that in mind, okay, let's look at what they actually are with the collective energy this week. I feel the need to speak up, to stand in our truth. My throat feels quite raw, almost as if a lot of us have been quietly screaming. My tummy just roared like a lion. Okay. Right. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, overall. So we're not quite there yet. Overall, the energy for this week is the Ten of Swords. Excuse me. The Ten of Swords. So not quite over that hill yet, but it is on the horizon. Gosh, massive shifts this week. Massive tracking of energy that wasn't actually ours, that is to be released. So we are on the 10. The 10 is at the end. Okay, we are nearly there, all right? And just keeping that in mind this week, if old energies start to rise, how do we do that? Well, today, the Emperor, just by knowing that you have those solid foundations of previous lessons and previous experiences, they may not be quite how you want them to be right now. They may need some rearranging, but you have them. You have the bricks to build your own foundation in the lessons that you have learned over the last few years in particular. That's the game changer. That's how you know all those deaths, all those endings that have been around, that you have witnessed and have space for and actually experienced yourself. Yeah, when that energy rises this week, for one last, I almost see like peeping up over the blankets for one last look. That last look can just be, I've done this. I know how to handle this. Yeah, that belief in the self is enough. That belief in the self and your body and your ability to get through whatever it is you are getting through is enough. And that can come from the bloodline that runs in your veins. That can, what I'm hearing is it comes from you. That belief in you is enough and your own divine connection. Because on the Tuesday, we have strength, that gurgling and roaring in my belly and that sore throat, almost from not being heard. And what I hear is the only person that needed to hear what you were trying to say is yourself. And I can definitely take that on board this week. Absolutely. You know, it's the peaceful warrior energy I feel. Truth doesn't need defending. It just is. So stop. Stop defending. Stop defending who you are. Stop defending what you do. If it feels right, it's going back to that flow, the highest good, whatever you want to call it. If it flows through you in a divine manner, it's your truth. Particularly on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, again, I can really take this on board, but really looking at what you give out and what you get back, your own beliefs behind this. Are you clinging to what you're giving? Are you giving it begrudgingly? So again, this week feels very much about the difference between duty and love. It seems to be that underlying theme, and what I'm hearing is it will continue into next week, into next year in particular. The open heart, that door open to what it is you are giving and receiving in relation to the closed door on your dreams. Does it all tally up this week? Yeah, does it all tally up? Does what all tally up? That's what I'm hearing. Does what all tally up? That will be the energy on Wednesday as we come into Thursday, the 8 of Pentacles. So taking a real leap from the 6 to the 8, the amount of work that you're putting in, is it what you are getting back? And that doesn't necessarily mean with other people. That means with your own cycles as well. So here, the Pentacles are actually moons, they're stages, they're phases of your own growth and your own development. Really looking into your own rhythm. If you feel as if you are giving more than you are getting, what someone gives you isn't a reflection of what you give them. How you feel in balance is a reflection of the stage and the phase that you are in your own growth. So if it feels out of balance, maybe you're at a stage where you need to go within. If it feels as if you have much, much, much to give, maybe you're now at that stage of standing forward. So really, really looking at your own rhythms, Wednesday and Thursday. This is your divine connection, your strength, your foundations. We end up giving from duty rather than love when we feel overwhelmed. And we feel overwhelmed by not listening to the body. We feel overwhelmed by not trusting our own creative rhythm. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On the Friday, we go to the 9 of Pentacles, 6, 8, 9. Real solid physical growth this week. Now, you can say that's financial. You can say that's physical body. What I'm hearing is it's foundations in the connection to your own divine union with who you are and what it is you're doing. So what I see here is almost like a labor, birthing that divine foundation, that emperor that you are. We go from the 6, we're past the halfway point, way past the halfway point because of the early labor beforehand. We are past that. We go from the 6 to the 8 to the 9 this week in particular. Nearly there. Okay, so close. Guidance for the Friday. Yes, Friday. Just remember what it is you are trying to achieve. The core essence of your dreams. That will open the door. Just remember the vibration, the frequency, the energy, the person that you are in that dream. And reach for that. That's enough to open that door on the Friday. It's already done. The harvest is there, ripe for the picking. This week in particular really feels almost a full circle to connecting to not what you're trying to manifest, not how you're trying to manifest, but the very person behind the dreams that you've had. Standing in that, because on the Saturday, the Chariot, okay, really connecting to your own subconscious, how that flows within the collective consciousness, knowing that they are the same, but they are also different energies, and being okay with that. You're not here to live someone else's life. You're here to live your own and for a particular purpose. So when we're born, the very planets align. For me, that's kind of like the earth says, this is the type of energy that I need. Yeah, this is what I'm calling in. And the planets align to really signify your birth. Not for you to change who you are, but for you to realize, stand in that and become your own leader. Only then can you guide the collective forward. On the Sunday, the Page of Wands. It does feel like when we actually release, or even release the need to release, and just be present in life, giving as we feel called to give, receiving as we feel called to receive, with that really open heart. This week in particular, work doesn't feel like work. It's a flow, it's a natural flow. Everything is there, right for the picking. We move forward, and it's almost like the dreams, the manifestations, the wishes take on it's not a new perspective, it's an old perspective. It feels like that fall type energy by the end of the week. So Sunday is, I think it's is it the 1st or the 2nd of May? Yeah, really feels like after the Beltane fires this week on the 30th, that clearing just gives a new insight to our connection to spirit, a new beginning, and realizing that we are children of the universe, always have been, always will be, and really manifesting from that space now. So we have 1, 2, 3 major arcanas. Great birth there from destiny, from fate, from the universe herself. And it's the Emperor, Strength, and the Chariot. Dig deep this week. Dig deep. Find those reserves. You do have them. You have ridden this path before. It doesn't have to be almost like a screaming match. It doesn't have to be that way. We can sit back, we can watch, we can observe, we can witness, and just know, trusting in divine time and strength and patience, that things are moving forward, that everything actually moves forward. The difficulties seem to arise, and I am going to say difficulties, which is very much unlike me. I normally say interesting, or I like to keep that balance, but it feels very clear cut this week that the emphasis is on us and how we react to it, because the difficulties seem to arise when we go back to that mentality of the Ten of Swords. Again, no judgment. When we go back to the 10, not even back, but when we go to the 10 of Swords, that mental anguish, if we can sit with that despair, if we can witness that despair, the answers will come. So if you find yourself going back to old ways of patterns and beliefs, Go further, dig deeper. What treasures are there here to find? Because it's that that's going to help you move forward. The difficulties do very much feel as if it is related to what we give out, what we get back, the amount of work that we put in for the harvest that we reap, and the fun and the joy behind our ambitions, our desires, and what we're trying to achieve. That all comes down to your own rhythm, your own connection to what you're trying to believe, and your own beliefs and morals. Really, really looking at them this week as a fantastic opportunity to actually move forward. Yeah. One more, the Star card. The fourth aspect of the major arcanas. It's almost like that final pillar of the structure of the foundations needed for this week. Keep your vision in your mind. You are the one that holds the cord to it. You are the one connected to who you are becoming. Keep that in mind. Keep that in your sights at all times this week. It does feel like a little bit like fool type, Heyoka type trickster energy, almost like an illusion still trying to come back over our face. See it for what it is. Recognize it for trigger responses. Thank it. Laugh at it, yourself included, and just have joy in the knowing that you are slowly but surely blossoming, opening, taking forward everything, your ego included. Doesn't have to be one or the other, they can go hand in hand. Really, really, really feels like a week of healing the relationship with our ego, with our physical and our divine self. A beautiful union in time for the Beltane fires, which is the feminine and the masculine. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I shall see you next week. I'm possibly going to write a blog today with more information about what's going to be going on in the group, but I will leave details for the daily guidance, which can be found in the group, for my website, which will be changing shortly with some offerings. And just enjoy this energy. Just really connect to it and enjoy it. Try and see it through the eyes of a new beginning rather than the past. Try and see it through the eyes of the divine and the mother. For the connection, it's actually bringing you to your dream and your vision. We can often look at things and think, I'm done with that. I don't want to look at that again. But it actually solidifies our beliefs. It all depends on how we choose to see it and how we choose to look at it. So open heart. Know that your dreams are right beside you. It's down to you to open the door. Take care. Bye.